In this video, we'll talk about Geiger Muller counter. It is popularly known as GM counter. We'll try to understand what is Geiger Muller counter, how does it measure radiation, and where do we use it. The nuclear radiations can be detected by GM counter, and we know the nuclear radiations are very dangerous. We have seen the effect of these nuclear radiations in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So these nuclear radiations are majorly three types of radiations. One is the alpha decay, the second one is beta decay, and the third one is gamma ray. All these are dangerous. Alpha decay consists of helium nucleus, which has two protons and two neutrons, whereas beta decay is nothing but a electron with very high speed. Gamma rays are high frequency, high energetic rays, and all of them are equally dangerous. The alpha decay penetration power is the minimum and it can be stopped with the help of a piece of paper, whereas beta decay has higher penetration power and we need aluminum sheet to stop the beta decay, whereas the gamma rays have the highest penetration power and will need a lead box or lead sheets or concrete to stop the gamma rays. Now, how do we count the radiation? The idea was proposed in 1908, but it took almost 20 years to build the first Geiger Muller tube. Geiger and his PhD student Muller designed this first GM tube in 1928. Now, what does it consist of? It consists of a cylindrical cathode, which is made up of normally copper or any metal, and we have the tungsten wire or the any metal with very high melting point, which act as a anode, whereas this cylindrical uh, cathode acts as a uh, cylindrical. There is a mica window from one side where the radiation is allowed to enter into the cylinder or the GM tube, whereas the other end is closed with the solid material. This system is connected with the high voltage supply to the anode and cathode, and then whenever the radiation incident on the gas which is present inside the chamber, this gas will get ionized and the electron will release. These electrons can get accelerated towards the anode, and the ions which are positively charged, they can go to the cylindrical cathode. Now when these electrons get attached with the anode, it will create a signal which can be detected by the detector. Also we can hear the sound of this click when this electron will reach to the anode. This instrument can be used for detection of alpha decay and beta decay. The voltage that is supplied is normally in the range of 300 volt to 700 volt, and we can have the counts per minute or per second. The gas that is used here is helium or neon or argon, that is the inert gases, and they are kept at low pressure, that is 10 centimeter pressure. Also, when the atom get ionized, the electron may strike on the other atoms and it can create the avalanche of the electrons, so that there could be a discharge in between the cathode and anode. To avoid this discharge, 10% ethyl alcohol at 1 centimeter pressure is also used with the mixture of this gas. Now this counter counts, or we can hear the sound, or we can listen the counts through the speakers also. Now let us see how experimentally we can use this GM counter. This is a experimental arrangement of GM counter. You can see a very small tube of, here at the top, and which is attached with the red and black supply from the high voltage supply, and the positive is given at the central rod, which is made up of uh, tungsten that we have seen, and the outer one is the copper. The relative sample is kept in the slots. You can use like third slot, fourth slot, fifth slot, and so on and so forth. And then the radiation will be allowed to pass into the GM tube. Now, you should be very careful doing this experiment. You should not touch the end window of GM tube because there is always possibility of radioactivity that is coming towards this GM tube. Also, there is high voltage at this end. Now, the third image shows the counter. You can just press button and set the voltage and then start the count. Every time when you count the counts, then you should reset the count before the another observation. Now, when you take this observation, you can see the graph of this kind of plot you can have, and you can see that the counts will be available only after certain voltage. Like in this case, it is about 300 volt, and then in between 300 volt to say 900 or 950 volt, you have almost constant counts. So that is what it is called as operating range, where you can send the radiation and you can get some electrons, and these electrons will be detected. If we increase the voltage between the cathode and anode, it is possible that electron will be pushed, or they will be attracted towards the anode so quickly that they can create some discharge, and because of the discharge the count will be so high that this will be a fake count, because one uh, any particle, radioactive particle, is not creating one electron, but it is creating more than one electron, and therefore whatever the count you are getting is not the correct count. You should always ideally operate this GM counter in the operating range, and the ideal voltage will be in the middle of this plateau region. Now let us see the advantages and disadvantages of this GM counter. The GM counter is very cheap. It is robust. You can use it in different environment. It is handy. You can carry it anywhere, and it is fairly accurate. It is not so accurate, but you can just work with this GM counter to certain extent. The disadvantages are it cannot measure the energy of alpha or beta decay. So it cannot distinguish between alpha and beta decay, and it is not useful at higher rate, like it can work up to 500 counts per second, but if the radiation is coming more than this rate, then the counter will not be able to count properly, because it has a dead time of 200 microseconds. For example, it counts the signal or the decay or the particle, radioactive particle that is coming, and then it takes some time to recover the tube. So that dead time is about 200 microseconds. So higher rates is not useful for this GM counter. So I hope you have understood this GM counter. Thank you.